England signed. He did, dear lady, he did, dear man, and the treaties being broken by Kim's or Dan. And what will you do for these ones? All in the past you can say, but it's still going on here today. The government now wants dearest for land, back of the Canada and the Cheyenne. It's here and it's now, you must help us, dear man, now that the buffalo's gone.
Right now at Top Food and Drug, 14 to 20 ounce Nabisco Okies, regular, double stuff, or fudge covered, are 2 for $5. And 14 ounce Eagle brand thin potato chips, regular or mesquite barbecue flavor, are $1.78.
Top Food and Drug, low prices, no compromising.
There's so many poisons going on throughout our nation now, of modern technology and different ways that are affecting our quality of water. And the salmon people know that if you destroy the water, you have destroyed our animals, you've destroyed our salmon, you've destroyed our cedar trees, you've destroyed our culture, and we as Indian people worry about that. This country can go to the moon, but yet they cannot protect their water or their environment.
We're in the state of Washington in the northwest of the U.S., where some 40,000 Indians, known as the Salmon people, live. 20 years ago, the Indians and their culture were almost destroyed, but the Salmon people started to fight back, and they've already achieved a lot. The Salmon people's ancestors have lived off salmon from these rivers for over 10,000 years. Over 100 years ago, settlers invaded the Northwest Territories, known for their plentiful natural resources. The federal government forced the Indians to sign treaties to give up their land. But at the same time, the government Indians fishing and hunting rights. But these promises were never fulfilled. The Indians were moved to reservations and religion was oppressed. Indian children were put into Catholic schools, given new names and forced to learn a new language, and punished for speaking their own.
Just before World War, most of the Nisqually Reservation was taken for Army-based purposes by the United States, and 2/3 of the reservation was taken and only 1/3 was left. That was one of the first 2 times that the Nisquallies lost even their graveyards that went back for back into the 1700s.
Epidemics and forced removals were devastating to the salmon people, particularly to the Nisquallies.
The tribe was reduced in number to just a mere 48 people, and the Nisqually Indians had to fight for the mission of their own people who had been scattered away from the reservation.
In 1964, Hank Adams and other young Indians violated the state's fishing prohibition.
Once I was wild as the eagle in the sky, free to love and to live and to die. I roamed this land from the mountains to the sea, brother to the elk, the bear and the deer. Up the river, the lakes and the redwood trees, this was my land as far as I could see.
We started to fight with them. We fought. We had gun battles. We had conference continually with them. We went to jail. We went to jail continually over in the 1960s, and up until 1970, we were still going to jail over fishing rights on our river and other rivers.
The state outlawed the Indians' traditional gill nets to protect the fish, but the Indians felt sure that their fishing rights were guaranteed under the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854. The salmon people brought their fight to court, but the state didn't accept a 1974 federal court.
He give that away.
Well, I don't think it's fair because they get more fishing days, more rights. You know, they don't have the same tax laws. They get the financing easier. You know, the Indians, they died out 100 years ago. I mean, I know they're still around, but it's a modern country now. It should be the guy with the best boat, the best fishermen should be the ones catching the fish,
Spawning beds, and without the shadow from the trees, the water in the river became too warm for the spawning salmon. But the lawsuit tied up the industry in court, making it impossible for the timber companies to manage their land.
We would go to court to resolve our differences. Usually, neither of us would like that decision very well, but we both would have to live with it. So one day,
the utility, the dams on the rivers, we're trying to make a management and protection of the resource.
So instead of confrontation, timber companies and the Indians agreed to co-manage the natural resources of the state, where this particular industry is one of the most important.
Stream temperatures.
Nice places for Indian people. So the Creator would gather up a handful of clay and a handful of sand and put them together, spit in his hand and rub it together like that and crumble it up. When it would mix and crumble up like that, then he would throw it out, and that would distribute Indian people.
The Indians feel that the dam should be removed so that the salmon can...
By the decline in fisheries on all of the rivers in the Northwest.
The concept of tearing down power dams is new, and the disagreement means that the federal government will have to resolve the issue, letting Indians and industry live in uncertainty for the next 5 to 10 years. But some power dams have chosen to cooperate with the Indians.
Mountain stream up here for our religious beliefs. And since they built the dams, all our members, tribes, had to move down the river towards the mouth of the river in order to survive.
The whole Skagit project produces about 30 to 40% of Seattle's needs overall.
Over the next 30 years, Seattle City Light has agreed to spend more than $100 million to compensate the tribes for the damage. And the tribes have promised to support the relicensing of the dam.
It's hard to put a price on something that's priceless. The magnitude of this whole valleys and these rivers and these mountains and streams, I don't think you could place a price on anything like that. You just have to negotiate a settlement of what's left, and that's what you have to put up with.
The Indians will get 4,000 acres of hunting land and a new culture center. But most of the money will cover losses by Seattle City Light. The company will lose some of its electricity output by keeping a stable water level spawning season, thus helping more salmon to survive.
And it's with this agreement, I think it's the biggest kickoff in any Indian country, anywhere in the United States, of coming together. And it was a start, I believe, of one man reaching out, probably going against what people were trying to tell him not to do, but he did it anyway. That's our governor telling us that we need to cooperate and come to a common understanding that we are all created equal.
So we do litigation, and we're actually cooperating with one another. Doesn't mean we always agree. On some issues we have to end up in court, but we do it by agreement. But at least we're cooperating, and there's kind of a degree of mutual respect now that didn't exist before. And so we're trying to solve problems through cooperation, not confrontation.
I have the right to be an American Indian. My people, we're the Aboriginal people of this land. We live like a two-sided coin. We live in the Indian world and we live in the white world, and we have to find a way to live both ways. And the people before me that have paid the price have made it possible for me to be an American Indian.
A large number of the state's 40,000 Indians are now returning to their reservations. Just 2 decades ago, only 17 Nisquallies lived on this reservation before it was developed. Today, that number has grown to 350. But social problems like drugs and alcohol are still prevalent for the Indians. Bob Season has moved back to the reservation, and he's now trying to set an example for the children, teaching them traditional Indian culture in the way he was taught by his grandmother when they used to live in a log cabin.
Grandfather, I thank you for the peace that you have given to us, to our people.
When I worked out in the world, amongst all people, I wasn't really home. I was just another person out there. When I came back to the reservation, I can leave. Before, years ago, when you were put on a reservation, you were put there and you're there to stay. Now I can come to the reservation and I can wander without being bothered, and I can leave it if I want. That's being free. Coming home is the reservation to me. Like my children now, they all believe in the Indian way, but they believe in their jobs outside of the home also. But The kids always come back. They don't come back to stay, but they come back. And when they come back, they know they're home. They come to the reservation, they're home.
We're probably the minority when it comes to that kind of a family lifestyle and our family communication and the way our family, acts toward each other and loves each other. I hope that families out here can understand what they're doing to their children when they leave them alone, or when they go get drunk and come home drunk. I mean, that's what you're teaching them. You're not teaching them how to dance. You're not teaching them their language. You're not teaching them anything but how to pick up that first drink and how to abuse your wife or how to abuse your children or anything. We need to stop that. And it's people like my brother and me that have to set examples and show them how to stop that.
You would learn, go to the other side of the fence, on the white man's side of the fence, and learn an education, get a better living. Come home and learn your people's way and teach your children your people's way. If you believe in your people's way, they'll believe in your people's way eventually.
Which makes it seem like it's riding on rails.
I'll tell you something.
I have two brothers that were really deeply into drugs, and I don't want to see it with my kids. I want them out of home and out of my deed. For me, I want them facing toward better things. While they like traditional, they like powwows, going to different places and performing and things like this, but mainly it's just to keep them pointed out of drugs and alcohol. That's a lot to do. You know, Rosalind, that's enough now, sit down, quit. I take them fishing, camping, you know, I take them up to the mountains, show them things, huckleberry picking, all these different things grandmother showed me, you know. It's mainly just all your heritage. This is the way you're brought up.
Most of the Indian children attend public schools, but some parents prefer Indian schools that emphasize the children's heritage.
Who signed the Medicine Creek Treaty and people representing the Indian people? And was Chief Leshai really the chief? No. And what did they sign with? What did Chief Leshai sign with?
An X.
An X. Why?
Because they didn't know how to write.
He didn't even know the English language, right?
Yeah.
Did he even understand Governor Isaac Stevens when Governor Stevens was trying to coerce him into signing the Medicine Creek Treaty in 1854? He didn't, did he?
The WaHeLut School was founded in 1974 by the family of the Indian spokesman, Billy Frank. The children attend WaHeLut until 8th grade and then move on to the so-called white schools.
The school's a very supportive, nurturing environment for the children. They almost look at it as an extension of their home. And when they're here, they oftentimes grandma or auntie or uncle or mom here at school helping out. And so rather than the traditional school institution where you go away from your home and things are totally different, oftentimes this is more of an extension of their family life and their home life. And I think they're finding that now that they're being allowed to go back to their roots and back to rediscover their heritage, that there are many people that are discovering that they enjoy being an Indian and not only allowed to be an Indian, but somehow now their status is a little bit increased by the fact that they're an Indian. And perhaps because the Native American culture focuses such importance on preserving the earth, the dominant culture is recognizing that there is something very special about this group of people.
The school organizes an annual powwow where the Indians get together and dance traditional dances.
I don't know how many tribes are represented here today, but I think this is the only cultural belief that we have as Indians. However, that you can see thousands of people all dancing to the same song and all asking the Creator for the same thing that we're all looking for, and that is a blessing. We have to teach our children, our grandchildren, how to respect the things that we wear, the eagle feather, on account of that the eagle lives, and is a good role model for all of us. He is a survivor like we are as Indians.
I think it's important for the tribes and the Indians and the state and the neighbors to all look to the future of the next 100 years. If you can look that far out into the future, 5 or 6 generations of our people have to think a long ways out into the protection of our environment, the protection of our resource, the protection of us as human beings, as neighbors, as people, to respect and try to work together for the future of all of us and our children too. It was a day to celebrate for Fish and Wildlife in the city of Tacoma and Nisqually Tribe, the United States Army. It's a very unique